Success transcends cities. As one of the world's most respected business leaders, I know what it takes. Join me now as I sit down with fellow leaders and we share our insights into how you can be successful. My name is Jeffrey Hayzlett, and this is All Business.
When it comes to trading, there are sometimes obstacles that stand in the way for traders. Hesitation in losing too much or too fast, not having enough to trade as large as you would like, are just to name a few. Well, my guest today has been trading markets for over 15 years and has developed numerous trading tools, arbitrage trading strategies, and even an exchange trading platform. Darrell Martin is the founder and CEO of Apex Trader Funding, a company who believes in helping traders trade well. Darrell, welcome to All Business with Jeffrey Hayzlett. Hey, Darrell, the first question I have to ask you, because I went looking into your background, was that you were a weightlifter, that you've got a big title in weightlifting. Is that true?
Yeah, I was actually the U.S. national powerlifting champion. So,
my gosh,
bench press and squat and deadlift, all that.
Oh my gosh, how does that translate into trading? Is it helpful at all?
Not giving up. So,
well, and I got to imagine there was a lot of long days and nights training, and you do that in trading every single day, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you push yourself and learn when to stop, learn when to push through. So, yep.
That's a lot of parallels. So I know that trading wasn't what you started off to do. What's your profession prior to founding Apex?
I actually owned a VoIP telecom company, and it's the first company to do coast-to-coast unlimited long distance. So,
and then what got you started and interested in trading?
Went to a conference. Some guy was talking about options trading and red and green arrows, all that. My family didn't really have a background in investing or trading at all. I came from a pretty poor family, and so that piqued my curiosity. I bought the $500 course, and we've all bought one of those at some time or another. And of course, that didn't teach me anything, but it got me into it. And I just got my hands on everything I could, found people that knew what they were doing. And, pretty shortly after that, I actually quit my day job and went full-time into trading.
And so what was that timeline like for you from the first time you took the course until you said, hey, I think I can make a real living at this and I'm going to get it started? We'll talk a little bit more about Apex itself and the company, how it operates, because it's just fascinating to me. But what was that timeline? Was it a year, 2 years, 3 years, 10?
I studied for about a full year before I, just went full-time trading. So I spent, quite a bit of time because, I didn't have it laid out for me. I was reading this book, going to that seminar, going to this seminar, getting this coach, getting that coach, and trying to figure out what my system was and exactly how I was going to trade. And then from that point, sort of move forward. I traded options for a couple of years, about 2 or 3 years, and dabbled in Forex, and then ended up in futures, which is what I mainly trade.
Did you go and work at another trader, or was this the things that you were doing on your own?
To begin with, it was just me on my own, and then a company hired me to do research for them and on different option strategies. And so I thought that was sort of a cool gig. They let me, stay home like 3 days a week and trade, and then go into the office a couple days a week and teach traders different strategies. So that was, pretty cool opportunity to do while you're trading. And so I did that as sort of a part-time gig while I was trading full-time. And, that lasted for like a year or two. And then I moved on and decided I wanted to just stay doing my own thing.
So tell me about Apex. What is Apex? What's it do? Who's it for?
Well, Apex started off as an education company. I was actually just building training courses for my daughter who was about to be born. And that was 16 years ago. And just so something happened to me, then she would have something to fall back on and learn and do and not have to go through all the crap that I had to go through to figure out how to trade. And one of my friends taught me into turning it into a company, because that wasn't my intent at all. It's just to make videos for her. After doing that for about 15 years, I saw a big need for funding for traders who didn't have the money to trade or didn't want to risk the retirement account. The kids call it savings account, thing like that. Looked at a lot of different companies. I tried one out for a while. Basically figured out that nobody was doing it for traders. It was companies doing it for themselves more than anything. And so I really wanted to, be like buy traders for traders, and not Wall Street traders doing it for traders, but actually like Main Street traders like myself doing it for other Main Street traders. And so I started up Apex Trader Funding, and I mean, it took off.
And it's been quite a success since then. I know some of the background of all the things you're doing. For those that don't know, and you mentioned Main Street trader versus a Wall Street trader, what's the difference?
Wall Street trader, they're used to having the inside, the order flow, trading on the floor. They're not used to the regular platforms that Main Street traders have access to, that Wall Street traders have access to, that Main Street traders don't. A lot of the tools that Wall Street traders may have, Main Street traders don't. They're not used to having, Wall Street traders may have all the algorithms. They have the access to the floor and getting to feel, what the heartbeat of the floor is, what their buddy's doing, what that bank is doing, what this bank is doing, all that. Main Street traders just has a screen, and they don't have other people's money, other people's funding. They just have their own cash account. A lot of those other traders are trading banks' money and things like that. So, learning how to, grow up and trade in that Main Street trader environment where, trading my own money, risking my own money, risking my wife's 401k, we cashed out so we could trade and, all that, puts a whole different feel, a whole different psychological pressure on you. And so coming from that mentality and then having to work your way up and figure it out without having, all these coaches and, everybody around you, that comes from that world. Whereas when you come up as a Main Street trader, sort of nobody around you knows what you're doing. They're just like, oh, you're just a day trader. Okay, you're just gambling, whatever, And so you're really on your own. And so I was trying to build a community where you're not on your own, and then trying to also, like I said, build the funding where you're not having to risk your own capital in the process.
So for those that don't know, what's an evaluation and funding firm?
Okay. So an evaluation and funding firm is where you come in and you pay for an evaluation, like $150. Okay. And when you pay for that evaluation, you're trying to make so much money without losing so much money. And so like say make $3,000 without losing $2,500. Okay. And if you do that, then we fund you with a $50,000 account. Now we don't let you risk all $50,000, but $50,000 of purchasing power. And basically that lets you risk about $2,500. Actually, exactly $2,500. And then, but if you lose that $2,500, once you get funded, you don't lose anything. So you're just out that evaluation and funding fee, which the funding fee is also like $150. Okay. So you're out, say $300 if you lose $2,500. But when you make money, you get to keep 90% of the profits. So you don't have to worry about blowing and losing your retirement account, over and over again, which a lot of traders do, right? They just lose money, lose money, lose money. So, I mean, you're out $150, $300, something like that. You can reset the account for $80, and if you lose $2,500, you can reset it for $80. So it's really a very good thing for the trader. And the funding company. How do we make money? Because that sounds like, well, how would the funding company make money? Is we have an AI that determines whether or not you're consistent, and if you're using good risk management. If you aren't, then we're putting you in a simulation account, right? If you are, then we're copying your trades into a live account. So the AI knows where to place the trades in order to, basically manage our risk. And then if you're a really good trader, then we may do the same thing you're doing times 10.
Hey, Darrell, I have to interrupt you because it sounds almost too good to be true. I really want to go a little deeper on how you're making money and how other people are making money, because it sounds like you're guaranteed that they can make money. It's a no losing bet. So what it sounds like is you're betting on the people that win, and then you're putting more money behind it. So you're basically spreading out your ability to make money by betting on really smart people who are doing really decent trades, and you got AI working for you to follow all those, probably, I've got to assume, tens and tens of thousands of trades that are going on.
Oh, there's an insane amount of trades going on. Yeah. So we're analyzing, trying to find the best traders. And then those who are struggling along, like I said, we put them we're not copying their trades into the live, and it allows traders to not lose their investment money because they're not investing any capital. There's no deposit of capital that you're making that you're risking. You're just paying for an evaluation fee. And then you're paying for an account activation fee, and then we cover the data fees. So you just pay for evaluation fee, $150, or less than that half the time. If you use certain coupon codes, you can get half off. And Most traders are used to putting up $2,500, $5,000, $15,000, $30,000 to start trading. And a day trade, you got to eat, like in the stock market, you have to have at least 25 grand minimum to build a trade. You know, we're trading in the futures market, which doesn't require as much, but still requires quite a bit of capital. And, you know, you're risking all of it when you go up and trade. So, and you're investing that money, and if it drains down, you have to refill the account with all of your investment capital. With us, you don't have to do that.
So what are the potential advantages of day trading compared to longer term trading or investing approaches?
Well, day trading is more of an income strategy. So it's not a growth strategy of growing a portfolio over time. Also, in today's world, it's so hectic. Trying to figure out 10 minutes from now based on, you know, price action, and this is just my opinion, is easier than trying to figure out what's going to happen over the next like 6 months or 3 years. There's so many different things happening globally now. The Fed is doing so many different things now. You know, there's all the presidential debates, you know, all the, just everything that's going on in the White House and Washington, and, you know, everything just makes it very, very difficult. You know, what's going to happen with the dollar? Are we in a recession? Are we not in a recession? You know, there's so many things that make it harder to me to figure out what's going to happen longer term than for at least the mainstream trader than it is just to sit down and trade for an hour or 30 minutes. You know, another thing is with futures, you can trade 23 hours a day. So not that you're going to trade that long, but 23 hours a day, the market's open, right? So you can sit down from 6 p.m. Eastern time to 5 p.m. Eastern time the next day, and you can trade any of that time you want to. So when you get home early in the morning, you know, before work, whatever, and you can put on trade for, you know, I mean, most of my trades last 10 or 15 minutes, you know, so you can trade for a couple hours, you know, good or bad, however it ends up that day, and then be done, and then go do your regular job while you're hopefully working towards making enough to maybe, you know, hopefully quit that day job or just make that additional income you're trying to make, which we all need. You know, so many people are needing to make these days with, you know, the way the economy is going and inflation and everything else. Everybody's needing to make extra capital. So, and not that everybody does it, and not that it's like in no way guaranteed or even easy, you know, but, you know, if you can at least lower your risk by, you know, not having to risk your entire account, then that way, you know, it puts you in a little better, I think, position psychologically to trade, because it's hard enough to trade. You add in the psychological factor in the back of your mind of what you're risking in the process, the rent, the mortgage, the retirement account, you know, the college savings account, whatever, that messes with you. You know, you become afraid, and that fear always creates bad decisions. And so if you can remove that psychological fear, I think it helps you become a better trader.
So I have to ask you, why would an individual want to use your services versus somebody else, the competition? Because I do know there's a number of these that are out there, but I know you're at the very top of you're the apex, that's hence the name, but you're at the very top. And I do know that, but what would make them want to use you versus somebody else?
Well, like I said, we were made by traders for traders. And what that means is I built the service because at first I was looking at promoting somebody else's, but we made, like, none of them were made how I would have wanted them to be made to be as a trader. And so I made the company as how another trader would want it. And the number one thing, how would a trader want it? A trader would want it where it pays out the most money possible, right? And we're paying out, I mean, our second largest, the second competitor that's like the second one closest to us, we paid out more in 2 months than they paid out in the last 3 years. So, I mean, just to give you an idea, I mean, we're paying out, like they paid out 10 million in the last 3 years. We paid out 8 million in the last 30 days.
Wow.
You know, so I built it to not be built on just like fees and collecting fees from people and all this stuff, but actually payouts. And so we're accomplishing that. We're paying people out. And we have one of the highest, if not the highest, pass rates per trader that I've taken into evaluation. The way our rules are set up, a lot of them have a lot of extra rules set up. And, you know, so that right there. So not only do we pay out a lot, but we also have high payouts. And these companies have been in business for 10 years. We've been in business for 2, and we're paying out that kind of money compared to them. So, you know, they've been in business for a long time, yet they still haven't achieved the kind of payouts we're achieving. You know, so like I said, built how I would have wanted it, how any trader would want it to be built, in my opinion, which is to teach them how to manage size, how to manage risk, and how to manage profit. So you got to learn those 3 things. And we have a number of education companies on our tools page you can check out as well if you've never traded before, to learn how to trade. So, you know, we also have that built in with the trader education. And it's a separate company, but it's, like one that offers like free education. So people can learn how to trade if they've never done it before. So just sort of everything that somebody would need to learn how to trade and to have the capital to trade all put together, in one place.
Do the traders get a chance to get in the room with you and learn more?
In my other company, Apex Investing, which is on the tools page of apextraderfunding.com, I have a trade room, and I get in there when I'm available to, and then I'm traveling a lot and things, but and then usually it'll be in the morning between like 8 and 10 a.m. Eastern time. And then, but there's always a couple traders in there that I've taught how to trade over the years. Like I've worked with for like a decade, and that are teaching and training and calling out trades and walking through the system that we teach. So like I very much teach to, learn to become the guru, don't follow the guru. So my system is very ABCD. It's not like you have to tilt your head sideways to see the certain thing on the chart line up. So our system is like that. It's very, if this happens and this happens, then you get in, and here's where you get out if it goes against you, and here's where you get out if it goes in your favor. It's very precise. And so we teach that. We have traders that call out trades that follow that system, in the room, and people are, they're able to follow along if they want, or just learn, or whatever they want to do. And other traders call out trades in the room too. It's a community of traders, come together to do that. So yeah, but there's definitely a chance to hear me in the room and then hear other traders in the room that I personally have mentored over the years.
We were talking about these traders. Now, Darrell, I've been at a couple of conferences. I was with you at Randy Tate's iFlip conference, and all of a sudden, all these people started flooding around this one guy looking over his shoulder, and I found out he was one of those traders. And you guys are kind of like rock stars, right? People follow you, go into the room, want to hang out, almost short of probably autographs, but they're trying to get those inside tips, right?
Right. Yeah. They're always asking for, what's the trick? What's the secret? Yeah.
Well, what is the secret? Since I got you on, what's the secret?
The secret is patience and discipline.
Yeah. Hard work. It's right.
Yeah.
It's always hard work.
That's
doing it right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can have the best system in the world, literally, but just say a perfect system existed. Okay. It doesn't. But let's say a perfect system existed. You will guaranteed mess it up if you don't have patience and discipline. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter how good the system is. People are always chasing the best system. What's the best combination of indicators and this and that and everything else. It's like the best system is you. Just learning to be patient and disciplined and wait on that right trade. Once you got that, then you don't blow your account in 5 seconds. So now you can actually live longer as a trader. And then you can work on actually developing a system. But if you can't execute the system consistently through patience and discipline, no system will work.
I like to watch poker players, same thing. Poker players consistent. By the way, most of them, throw their cards in more than they bet. So I always think that's kind of an interesting. So they have that system. So what are some of the skills or characteristics the successful day traders often possess besides that, in terms of working that system? What is it?
Okay. A standard deviation is how far the market has moved. Okay. An implied deviation is how far the market expects the market to move. So
that's what you can bet on, right? I mean, that's what you're betting on.
It is. So because it's everybody putting their money where their mouth is. It's what determines the price of options. And so it's very accurate. And so they know how far a market is expected to move that day. And you really don't go beyond, you don't really play beyond that level. So it may go 3 or 4 times that, but that's an oddity. 78% of the time, it's going to stay between this range for that day. So, knowing those standard deviations. And then, of course, they're going to be just aware of the heartbeat of that market. They focus on 1 or 2 markets. They're not spread out. They're not picking between 20,000 different stocks, and trying to follow the hot pick of the day. They probably trade the exact same thing almost every single day. Now, they're not married to it. If that market changes and it just goes flat or whatever, they'll change over to a different market. But they stick to 1 or 2 markets at the same time, and they don't change that market often.
Let me ask you a question about what advice you would give to somebody who's considering day trading as a career or an investment strategy. What are the realistic expectations for returns? Can I expect to be a multimillionaire?
Well, expectations on probabilities, no. But I'm just, saying it how it is.
That's fair. No, it's fair. It's not for everybody, but dude, right. I've been to your house You know, you've got a Rolls there, you've got some Aston Martins, you've done well in this business. You've only been doing it for a certain number of years. So there's got to be some people who really do win. And then there's obviously some people that lose. There's some risk to it. So what can I expect?
You can expect to take some time learning. So a year to 3 years before you really start to become consistently profitable where it means something. So if you're going to become profitable, it's going to probably take you that long, but it's a profession. You know, it's not just a side little hustle hobby like mowing lawns, you know, like, I mean, it is a profession. It's full on gardening, you know, right? So you're going to have to learn a lot of little things, and you're going to find people that know what they're doing and follow them and learn from them. Don't just think you're going to follow YouTube videos and that you're going to become a millionaire. That's the biggest mistake I see people. Oh man, I'm watching all these YouTube videos. I'm like, you're in the wrong spot, you know? Those are guys just trying to get famous and make money on ad clicks. And if it's free, it probably is worth nothing. So
and most of those what I call false prophets, they're making money on the churn and burn. They're counting on people dropping out, not making it, and signing up the next person, showing you the secrets behind door number one to show there's one behind door number two. There's always those people, right?
Right. They want to sell you one course to sell you another course to sell you another course. Yeah. Yeah, like, I mean, here's an example. Our courses, the courses that for my education company, the first month is free with no credit card. The second month is $1. The month after that is $200. Yeah. Why do I do that? Well, because I believe that if you stick with it, that you'll end up loving it and it'll work for you. I also believe that if you hop on there and you just sign up and you think somebody's going to spoon feed you, you're going to drop out. So, which is what I'd say 80% of people do. They sign up, they never do anything, they drop out. I don't want their money. You know, so, but if somebody's willing to invest time into it, I'm saying, hey, I'm going to let you see behind the door, behind the curtain. I'm going to let you see all the secrets. If you think it's worth it for you, you keep moving forward. If you don't, no harm, no foul, move on. So versus trying to get $10,000 up front for the course and you find out what's behind the curtain, you know.
Well, and I tell you what I like with you, it's almost like it's crowdfunding, but it's like crowd trading. And the benefit for you clearly is that you're getting thousands and thousands of successful traders, and you're using that on the backside. You're backing them, but they're showing you the inside of other places that you might not have invested in the past. I think that's a brilliant way of doing it. Let me ask you one last question, because I know we're running out of time. And that is, can you give me an idea of some successful stories of traders that have been funded by Apex? You got to have one or two of those, like, whoa, they almost hit the lottery.
I have them from all ranges. I had a guy who just said, I got a check, like, you know, it was a lot larger than my Social Security check. You know, that was cool to hear. And then I've had people say, my wife got to quit her job. I just paid a guy $750,000 this month that, you know, rocked it. We've had $1 million traders, you know, that we paid out that have just taken it by storm, that really learned. I mean, one guy, I mean, he would come in and pass and fell over and over again for like 6 months. And I finally got on the phone with the guy because he was just going. I'm like, what are you doing? You know? And because I could see he was just like going all in, you know? And he's like, what do I need to do? Give me some advice, you know? And I'm like, I can't advise you, but here's what I can tell you is that you need to slow down and trade smaller. And I was like, that's it. I was like, you're a good trader. Just slow down and trade smaller, because he was trading too big. And he was trying to make it all in 5 minutes. And he slowed down. He traded smaller. Literally, a guy within the next 6 months made more than $1 million, you know? And so, I mean, we have like all ranges of stories coming in, and they're really cool to hear. So, and but that was sort of cool. Like he literally told me 6 months later, he's like, that was the turning point for me. He's like, when you told me, like, just stop, slow down, trade smaller, and you'll do it. And he's like, so I decided, I was like, what do I have to lose at this point? So we did it, and, you know, it paid off.
Fantastic. Well, living the American dream every single day. And of course, you're helping the free enterprise system make money. And these are great side hacks or main hacks, if that's what you want to turn into. But this is an opportunity to do it. Darrell, thanks so much for joining us right here on All Business with Jeffrey Hayzlett, right here on C-Suite Radio and C-Suite TV. At the end of every show, I like to talk about what I learned right here on All Business. And Darrell gave me a number of insights. And I got to be real honest. Some of the things that he talks about and does, I don't understand. It's just not in my mindset. I'm used to buying and selling businesses, not buying and selling stocks or futures. But a couple of the things that he said are tried and true in any business. One of those, you got to have a system. All right. You have to work a system that works for you. And even when I'm doing marketing for businesses, I have a certain way of doing what works because I know it works. And that's what you have to do in trading. And I think that was very smart advice. The other one is you can't go too big too fast. For as much as it takes you to get there, that's how fast you can lose it as well. So building it up on a step-by-step basis so you don't lose it fast is a great way to be able to learn from one of the best. And we did that with Darrell today. Thanks for joining us on All Business with Jeff Hayzlett right here on C-Suite TV and C-Suite Radio.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Bestseller TV. I'm Taryn Winter-Brill. We're here with Scott Miller. He is the author of Media Matters, How to Leverage the Media to Grow Your Business. Scott, great to have you with us.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Likewise. First things first, congrats on your first book. Very exciting. How does it feel?
It feels great. You know, it's a process going through. It's something I've always wanted to do. And it feels really good to be on this side of the process.
I bet. Tell us a little bit about that process, Scott, because I'm always intrigued by first-time authors. Why this book and why now?
You know, for me, I'm very systematic in how I think about things. So before I even wrote a single word, I did a lot of research on what's a good length for a book. What I found was about 60,000 words. And then I kind of divided into 5,000 words per chapter. And I kind of took that approach. And then I wrote my outline. And we really went through the book in just 13 weeks, writing a chapter a week in order to get it finished. And that was one of the goals I had. We wrote it last fall and pretty excited about the process, but again, about the project itself.
And you're clearly passionate about media. So tell everybody a little bit about your background and your love of media.
You know, media, I've been in the business for over 25 years. I started off in my college hometown in local radio, doing requests and dedications on a country western station. I don't miss those days, but I learned a lot, you know, working in local radio, did play-by-play sports. From there, I got into news and eventually got into programming. And I've had a lot of unique experiences, whether it's been local radio, worked in satellite radio, worked in cable television. And along the way, I've discovered how people are always interested in media, but they don't necessarily know how media works, which is why I wrote the book.
Right. You discuss in the book how people don't know what they don't know, if I'm saying that, you know, if I'm saying that right. So clearly you felt a need to try to educate people. You know, you have let's say you're a small business owner just starting out, and nowadays, I mean, the media landscape is, I mean, how do you put it into words? It's so vast. There's so many options. I think you wrote in the book that a lot of times you spend more time figuring out which portal to use than you actually spend watching the program.
Right. Yeah, there's more content available today than in the history of mankind. And I joke about that because I spend hours trying to figure out what it is I want to watch. Now, when I talk about people not knowing what they don't know, it's really the 3 stages of knowledge. You don't know what you don't know. And then once you hear something, you now know what you don't know. And then you master it and you know what you know. And I think a lot of people in media, they understand media is important, but there's a lot of elements about media that they just don't know because they haven't been introduced to it. So I wanted to write each chapter of the book to really kind of talk about the history of a particular media, but then give you the terminology. You know, you and I work in media, we understand it, but there's a lot of people that don't understand it. So if you're going to go in and buy a TV commercial, do you even know what the ratings mean? And so we unpack all of that information really with the idea that you can walk away as a business owner understanding so that you can make smart decisions with your marketing dollars.
So would you say, Scott, or is it fair to say that the kind of business you have will determine the type of marketing or advertising you'd like to do, right? I mean, if you don't know what you don't know, you don't even know where to start. Wouldn't you say that's the case?
I think it has more to do with what demographics are you trying to reach for your business. So you examine your product, you want to know who's your target, who's your potential client or your potential customer, And that will really determine where you're going to go with your marketing dollars.
Would you say that's the biggest mistake business owners or new business owners make? They're not aware of their demographic, or they don't really have a nugget that they're focused in on?
Surprisingly, a lot of businesses don't take the time to do something as simple as run Google Analytics on who's coming to their website to understand the base of their customer. And then the other thing is they get very impatient. They think that media is something that's going to happen overnight. Media is all about frequency and consistency. So whether you're advertising on a local radio station or even social media, you can't spend $1 and expect tomorrow the results to come in. So those are the two biggest issues we see with business owners.
Right. So patience is key, I'd imagine, and
Absolutely.
consistency. I want to talk a little bit about the thesis of the book. You write, businesses need a content marketing strategy in order to get the word out about their products and services in today's media environment. So tell us a little bit about what a content marketing strategy involves, because if you're new to media, those words just like, what? What does that mean, Scott?
Right. Well, I think it's fair to say, and I didn't coin this phrase, but every business is a media company today. And so if you own a business, you really need to be thinking about the type of content you create. We're talking about creating videos or doing a podcast. Everything on social media is about content, whether it's written or the video or again, doing audio. And so when we talk about content marketing, the difference is if I'm going to advertise on a radio station, I am renting space on someone else's platform. I'm paying money to leverage their platform. If I'm creating content, I'm drawing in prospects and I own the platform. And I think when you talk about, the different forms, people are watching content on Hulu or cable or over-the-air broadcast. How do you reach the masses? Start to create content yourself that'll draw them into your website and social media. And that really is a key to marketing as you go forward with your business.
So it's creating unique content is what you're saying?
Yeah, creating unique content, but it has to be something of value. That's something we definitely want to caution you about. When you get into social media, businesses want to know about social media, and there's a chapter on that. But I make the argument, don't follow the trends as much as create content of value to your business. So let me give you an example. If you own, let's say you are in the business of cleaning pools. We'll just throw that out as an example. You might want to create content that's on maintaining pool. Give information that people who own a pool would be interested in. And then when they get to know you and they realize that you understand, you're an expert in your industry, and they need someone to clean their pool, guess who they're calling?
Right. So it's all about establishing that trust.
Absolutely. And credibility for sure.
Yeah, that too. One of the chapters that caught my eye, strictly from a title standpoint, chapter 6 to be specific, the new OTT world, and it grabs you because like, oh, what does that mean? And I was trying to figure out, do I know what that means? Because I am in media. And within that chapter, there's a lot of acronyms. You're throwing around acronyms all over the place, Scott. And it is kind of telling because I feel like the media landscape is filled with acronyms, stuff like SVOD, AVOD, I mentioned OTT. So tell everybody a little bit, about what that all means and why it's not as daunting as it sounds.
I think OTT was probably invented by some engineer somewhere and it made sense to them. They probably should have just called it Internet TV. That would have been so much easier. But really, OTT stands for over the top, and it simply means you're delivering content over the top of someone else's platform. So Netflix doesn't own the internet. Netflix owns the content or pushes out or aggregates the content over the top of someone else's internet. Again, should have just called it Internet TV, but that is the term OTT. And you mentioned there's different forms of OTT. We can get really weedy, but you got the subscriber video on demand. You're paying a subscription fee. That's the SPOD. Yeah, the advertising video on demand, which obviously you watch for free, but a commercial will air. So yeah, we unpack all of that terminology. Again, trying to give you that knowledge base. So if you are going to advertise for your business, you go in with your eyes wide open rather than having that, am I sure? Do I know what I'm paying for? That's why we want to give that information in the book.
And Scott, a moment ago, you mentioned this plethora of options out there, even just in terms of streaming services. I'm so curious your process because I wanted to say bravo. You really, you make it a very user-friendly read when you go into, the streaming platforms and AVOD and SVOD and all these things. How did you go about doing that and making it so user-friendly? Because it's not as easy as it sounds when you look back at this landscape and you're like, wowza, kind of a thing.
Yeah, I think I recently read there's like 700 different streaming platforms available. So obviously it's impossible to cover every platform in the book. But what I do instead is kind of give you the basic knowledge to understand. So when you say AVOD, again, that's advertising video on demand. That's where, as a consumer, you can watch the content and actually watch it for free, but then see commercials. So Pluto TV is probably one of the largest AVODs out there. So if you own a business, you can advertise on that platform and get results. Where SVOD, that's a subscription base. So we mentioned Netflix. They're kind of the GOAT of SVODs, right? So when you look at that, you can't advertise as a business. So really my goal in this chapter was just to kind of dive in to give you the understanding, again, that unlock that terminology so that you understand it as a business owner and you know how you can leverage that to grow your business.
I did want to mention an anecdote in the book, which I thought was interesting. In the summer of 2020, your VP of marketing at your company says, Scott, we're not practicing what you're preaching. So tell everybody what that was about.
Yeah, it was a great moment, and kudos to Scott Peterson for doing that. We own BizTV, we own BizTalk Radio, so we have a lot of platforms that we own. But at the parent company level, we're a content marketing agency, so we are working with businesses, helping them create content. So I'm constantly meeting with CEOs, and one of my messages is you need to be out front. In addition to putting your company out front, people do business with people, so they need to know you. In fact, more than ever, these younger generations, it's all about trust factor to them. They want to know what the business stands for, what the CEO stands for, and yet I wasn't doing it. I wasn't active on social media. I wasn't pushing myself out there. And so Scott came to me one day, very brave, right? He comes and says, hey, you're not doing what we're practicing. And I'm like, you got my attention. He said, you're not creating content. You're not out there doing that. And that set me on this journey. And it started off last year, started a podcast, Create, Build, Manage. And that podcast is now a nightly primetime TV show. And, the publisher approached me after we started doing content marketing, just to tell you it works, had a PR agency approach me to work with us, had a publisher ask me to write this book. So it does work. And I just kind of used my own example in there of, it's kind of, often as business leaders, we focus on our clients and we're not necessarily practicing what we preach. And that was a hard lesson for me, and it's worked out well.
All that said, I'm curious your take on social media and it's, the genesis of it, because I thought what you said in the book was really telling. It's interesting how a lot of people will market themselves and say, oh, I'm an expert on social media, but social media really hasn't been around that long. Right. I mean, we're still in the infancy stage, if you want to call it that. There's still so much to learn and so much is changing and it's fluid as compared to broadcast TV and radio, which has been around for decades. So I thought that was a very unique distinction to make.
Yeah, no, it is. When you think about, as you mentioned, broadcast TV, we know how it works. We know how radio works. We certainly know how print works. Social media has happened in my lifetime, and I don't feel like I'm that old, right? I mean, I remember in college, I didn't have social media, which, by the way, I joke that I'm so thankful I didn't have social media in high school or college. God bless the younger generation that has to live with that. But it is fairly new, and there are things that we're learning, and it's evolving. I mean, you look at the changes that Facebook is making from the time they first launched, really became mainstream in 2007, to what we're seeing today, and it's constantly reinventing itself. Interesting to see what the new forms, I say new, fairly new, TikTok and some of these other platforms, how they will play a role going forward. So I'm always cautious when someone comes in and says, I'm a social media expert. A lot of people use social media. Not a lot of people are actually monetizing off of social media. And that, to me, that's the key. When you learn how to actually monetize off of social media, then you're in a good spot.
Yeah. And that said, I'm curious your take, because this is your world. Has there been anything, Scott, that surprised you in terms of the social media landscape? Because it is a new medium, right? I mean, and every month, like, new things are coming out, right? So it is evolving, it is fluid, and really, who knows what's to come. So as you look back and as we look forward, I guess two questions. One is, what are your predictions in terms of media and social media? And if we go backwards, what has surprised you over the years as you look at kind of this journey that we're on?
Well, I think the thing that is surprising the most is when businesses make the decision to jump into a controversial topic. And I'm not going to give examples, just sort of being kind of generic with that. The thing you need to understand about social media, the algorithms want to keep the users on their platforms as long as possible. So if you're on Facebook and you start to take a particular political bent, or you take a side on the issue, the algorithms will start to feed you like-minded content. Again, they want you on that platform as long as possible because they're a business and they want to feed you advertisements. That's their business model. So as a business, when you make a decision to take a political side or take a side on a hot topic, you run the risk of only reaching half of your prospects. Think about that. You really, as a business, you want anybody to buy your product, right? So I think that's probably been the biggest surprise to see some of the brands do that. As far as looking toward the future, the thing I would watch is what's going on in Washington right now. There is a movement toward regulating social media. You know, in broadcast television, there's only so much that we can say. We're held to higher standards. Social media has not been held to those higher standards. There's a lot of what the media terms, fake news out there. That's going to be interesting to see. Will Washington start to regulate that and make the social media platforms become more accountable to the information that's pushed out there?
Right. It's a fair question. I mean, I think that's something that's been in the headlines for, a long time now. How do you control social media platforms in the same way that, or the same vein that broadcast TV has been controlled? Because you look at social media and it really is the wild, wild west, because there are so many vendors and portals. How, when you look back, and I like in the book, you really do give us a history lesson. When you're controlling or monitoring 3 broadcast stations and a few radio stations, very different than, I use this word again, the beast that the media landscape is today. So it's a fair point. So much to get to, but I think we've done a nice job of scratching the surface with the content of the book, because it's really, really unique, just setting the media landscape and how to navigate, which is so important. So congrats, Scott, on your first book. And are there more books to come?
Oh man, maybe, but not anytime soon.
Appreciate the honesty there. Well, thanks so much. And we look forward to what comes next.
Thank you.
And if you'd like more information on the book, just check out our website. It's csuitebookclub.com. That's c-suitebookclub.com. I'm Taryn Winterbrill. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time right here on Bestseller TV.
Welcome to C-Suite TV Insights. I'm Greg Greenberg. In the 21st century, data has emerged to be the new oil due to the way it makes businesses run. But data is useless unless it connects to a company's bottom line. Here to explain how to unlock the value of your data is Allison Hartsoe, CEO of Ambition Data. Welcome, Allison.
Thank you, Greg. It's lovely to be here.
Well, it's great to have you. And why is it so difficult to find value in data?
You know, a lot of people believe that if they just jam all their data together, it will magically produce insights, but it's just not that case. Instead, data has to be shaped and augmented in order to provide value.
And how do you connect data to a company's bottom line?
Right, that's another aspect, is that in order to understand business value, you have to connect it to the customer. And the customer is where all of the equity, all of the revenue comes from, because ultimately, customers buy products, not data or channels or anything else.
So you have something at Ambition Data called Customer Lifetime Value. Can you tell me what exactly that is? Because it sounds like a chief marketing officer's dream to capture a customer for their entire lifetime.
And that is true. That is the goal, to capture and keep customers for life. The Customer Lifetime Value is a technique that we use. It's a predictive metric that helps companies understand more about how they can market more effectively, how they can find the right product groups, whether they need to bundle or promote different products, or whether they should be targeting certain products to certain people.
All right, I buy products, I'm a consumer, I walk into a grocery store. Take me through customer lifetime value.
Right. So let's say I'm a virtual grocery store and I have lots of different products on the shelf, and I have certain products that get bought a lot and some products that don't get bought much at all. And so I cut off the products that don't get bought much at all, and as a result I invoke the product death spiral. And that means that the people who came in to buy, say, beer and diapers together can no longer get that bundle. They only get part of the products, and so they go away, and as a result all my sales start to fall. So by using customer lifetime value and understanding the different quality of customers and what they like to buy together, we ensure that companies keep better customers around and keep growing over time.
So what are the other dangers about reading the data incorrectly?
Oh, there's so many dangers around incorrect data usage. Another common example is customers, particularly CMOs, tend to look at channels. They tend to look at which channel is producing the most revenue for me. But channels don't buy products, customers buy products. So it's important to understand the customer lifetime value behind each channel. We actually call it CAC to CLV ratio.
So how do you make sure at Ambition Data that you're reading the data correctly?
Well, we like to do a couple things to make sure that the data is correct. We have a particular maturity curve model that we subscribe to, and each stage of the model determines what the company is ready for, what is right for them. And so at the bottom stages, we want them to take in the signals correctly. In the middle stages, we want them to learn from the customer, and at the upper stage, we want them to innovate against all competition and just be the runaway success.
All right, well, thanks a lot for coming on and talking about it.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching C-Suite TV Insights. I'm Greg Greenberg.